We're doing really well today. Hi, everybody. How are you? Well, I hope everyone's been enjoying themselves so far. And a quick thank you to Dubai Watch Week. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Anyone want to try it? For having me here and inviting me to host this discussion, obviously with the man himself who needs no introduction, the legendary Jean Claude Biver. And just a little bit of background, though, so you kind of understand the context that I'm actually coming from to this conversation. So I'm a bit out of my element right now because this is not my usual space. I was at CNN for about 17 years, reporting mostly from war zones. And I'm an independent journalist right now, and I've been heavily entrenched in, obviously, what's been happening in the region. And to be completely frank, I did not know much about the watch industry at all. So I did this deep dive, learning all about everything, learning about you. I mean, extraordinary experiences, extraordinary life story. And in my research, I reached out to a friend, kind of panicking a little bit, being like, I'm doing this huge interview, I need some help, tell me. And he said to me, he was like, you are so lucky because you are interviewing and speaking to a man who is literally the god of watches. And so my first question to you is, how do you actually describe yourself?
Thank you very much. You started with a compliment for me. That's a good start. It could be worse. I would, if I would have to judge myself, because I'm looking for a new job, I would say I'm a passionate man and I have too many disruptions. And the worst is that I love disruptions. So they are my friends. I'm asking the disruption, can you come tonight and tell me a story around 10 p.m.? Because the disruption is part of my personality. I have developed the disruption as a sign of Beaver. And that is how I would describe myself, a passionate disruptor.
So when you're talking about disruptions, exactly what is that? Is that going against the grain? Is that throwing an idea or a concept out there that no one's heard of? What is it?
I can tell you what it is by a very good example. 18-karat gold has properties, two big properties. Number one, it's heavy. And number two, it can scratch. It's soft. Those two elements, when I do a gold watch, I have no choice. I have to accept that the watch will scratch easily, so I can ask the customer, please take the gloves when you touch the gold watch and be careful. And when he takes it, oh, heavy, I say, yeah, that's gold. If you want something light, you can take carbon or titanium. Now, the disruptor will say, I don't want gold to be scratched. I want gold to be as hard that you can never scratch it, that I can ski with it, I can do anything. And number two, as I do sport, I want gold to be light. But Mr. Biver, this is impossible. Are you going to change the properties of a material that has been existing for 300,000 years? Yes, I'm going to do that. That's the beginning of the disruption. Because first, you must think to do it. Number two, you must insist, I'm going to do it. Come on. And number three, if I succeed, wow, the disruption will be positive. We did it during 6 years in a company that I owned in the past called Hublot. after 6 years, my engineer called me from the border of Switzerland, where he had to show what the 18 karat gold is. And he said, the custom, they accept our new 18 karat gold that cannot scratch and that weighs 30% less. 18 karat gold, unscratchable. 18 karat gold, 30% lighter than normal gold. And the custom has accepted, and they put the stamp on each watch that this is officially an 18 karat gold. Without my thinking of disruption and without the genius of my engineers, that would never have happened. So you see, the influence of disruption can be huge, enormous. And that is why I love disruption.
Just out of curiosity, though. Just out of curiosity, did you try to do gold skis? Did you try to put gold on skis and make them that hard?
We wanted as a provocation, not a disruption.
No.
Because I have two problems. I am a disruptor and I'm a provocator. As a provocation, we wanted to do 18 karat gold skis because they cannot scratch. And number two, we make but the ski producer, they make skis in wood, in hickory, or even in steel or aluminium. So as a provocation, we thought we could make it in gold, unscratchable gold. But it would have been a provocation that is too strong. I mean, gold needs to be more respected to be on the skis.
It's very interesting that those are such defining characteristics of yours, though, because when you first entered the industry, you describe your first 9 months with the AP as being some of the best in your life because of the people that you met and how they drew you in and how they were so integrated with nature. And to integrate with nature, one needs to be the opposite of a disruptor. So how do those two philosophies kind of coexist?
I think two philosophies that are contrary are bringing very often very positive elements. A man and a woman, God damn, there's nothing better. Sorry, but it's true. At least for me.
Not where I was expecting the conversation to go, by the way.
Positive and negative, day and night, hot and cold, sweet and sour. My goodness, we have a lot of examples where the contrarians are positive. And therefore, I'm absolutely in favor of this contrariety.
You know, since you brought up the male and female, I'll just jump straight into this. So I was obviously watching a lot of your past interviews, and I'm sure everyone here already knows the story of how you infamously bought Blancpain in the early 1980s for 21,000 Swiss francs. You sold it later in 92 for a massive fortune or profit. But you described that as a personal defeat. And you said when you don't sell for the right reason, it stays here. It stays in your throat. Why was that such a defeat? And what was your mindset at the time that you were going through that?
My mindset was that I was unhappy, or you say not happy. I was suffering a very particular personal sadness. And when you are sad, you lose sometimes your optimism. And when you lose your optimism, you lose your future. And when you lose your future, you lose your motivation. Wow. And I became just what the name meant, Beaver. I was not anymore the Beaver that I had known. And because of this, I thought time has come, I should now sell. And I sold my company. But I didn't realize that when you sell your company, you sell people. And there's nothing worse than selling people. Who am I to sell people? To sell all these great watchmakers, all this fantastic support, the women, the whole company. I sold this company just because I feel bad? Come on, Beaver, this you cannot do. And because I had these regrets coming up, I decided that I would not quit, that I will still work at Blancpain, and that I will never quit the watch industry. And today, what do? I try to finish my passion with my own brand. With Blancpain, I could not go till the end because of the bad reason I sold. But now, I have the last 10 minutes or 10 years to finish the job under the name Beaver. So it's the continuation of Blancpain that is now coming under the name Beaver.
You know, and I do want to ask you about that, about how you can turn, you know, sort of one of your darkest moments into something that ultimately is going to be your legacy. But before we move on to that, you know, this issue of mental health and our mental state of mind is not something that we do talk about often enough. And we know that everybody struggles with it, even somebody who, when, you know, one looks at you from the outside, I mean, you've had stunning success with so many different companies. For others who are going through similar dark periods in their life, what would your advice be to them, and how did you actually manage to navigate your way out of it?
If today I love nature. When I have a problem, I always go to the forest, and if it's my forest, I go to my tree, and I take my tree in my arms, and I tell him, come on, give me some strength. You, my tree, you have been here for nearly 400 years. You have seen so many people. You have seen so much. Can you give me strength? Please, please, give me strength. I need your strength. So today, my therapy is number one, my brand, and number two, my trees. And I have the huge privilege to have trees that are 1,000-year-old, trees that I can even not touch because they are protected by the law. When I have to do some work around them, I must ask permission. But these trees are giving me my equilibrium. So the equilibrium, when I need it, I take it from nature. And when I take the equilibrium from nature, I also indirectly take an equilibrium from the spirituality. Because the talk I have with my trees is full of spirituality. And to them, I can say whatever I want, because they are my friends and they will not judge me. So that is my biggest and my strongest and my best therapy is nature.
Thank you. And, you know, being able to acknowledge that everybody, you yourself, you know, we need equilibrium, right? We all need equilibrium, especially given sort of this race that we're all in towards, you know, success and trying to strive for certain things. But in fact, when you are able to obtain equilibrium, it ends up translating into better business practices, does it not? I mean, it actually allows you to become a better business brand, a better individual to work with, someone who's able to create a healthier work atmosphere for your staff and for all of those around you. How do you translate sort of that need to create a better equilibrium into better business practices?
I think you constantly have to improve yourself. If today you behave like yesterday, you didn't improve anything. You copied yesterday. So if I want to give a significancy to today, I must improve today compared to yesterday. And this is how, for instance, the Japanese industry came back after the war, because they had the theory, what you did well today must be done better tomorrow. Come on, boss, I did it extraordinarily well. No, you must do better. Every day you must improve. And that is a philosophy that comes from Japan, and that Japan showed us how efficient it is. Now, when something goes wrong with yourself or like me, it never goes only wrong, because there's always sun and dark. There's the dark side and there is the sunny side. And when you are in the dark side and you need light and you need heat, just move and be dynamic and try, where is the sunny side? Where is the side where I can rest and get a little bit of heat? So it's your responsibility. It's the responsibility of everybody to try to find where is the sunny side and how do I get there. So it's an effort. And at the end, life is not free of charge. It's a job. Every day you have to work. Every day you have to wash yourself. Every day you have to take care. So it's a constant, it's never ending. And the biggest illusion I had in my life was that I thought if I work a lot, at 65 I will be able to retire. It's an illusion. I could never, for instance, retire because I love my job. So how can you retire from your passion? How is that possible? That's even not possible. Mozart couldn't say, today I don't play, or Picasso, today I don't design. Come on, it's their life. So that is the strength of passion. Passion is so deeply in your heart, in your soul, in your head, that you cannot live without. And that is one of the lessons. And the second lesson is when somebody attacks you in the Japanese fighting, there is a strategy. How can you reverse the knife so that it hits the one that aggresses you? It's the defense of this in Japan. And that is the same here. Whatever is doing you harm, is doing you bad, there is another side from which you can look and say, wow, great. You know, when I was 10, my parents have sent me in a boarding school with my brother from Luxembourg to Switzerland. Somehow it was a disaster because we had to move country. We didn't have mama and papa anymore. We had teachers instead. But what's the good side? It gave me strength to believe in me. It taught me immediately young that I have to fight. And I had to fight, not for me just, but for my 2-year youngest brother. What a great lesson. I was 10 years old and I already learned through the facts that I have to take care of my brother that is 8 years old. So you see, in any defeat, there's already the elements of the next success. In every defeat, you find the elements of the next success, and you must just take them.
Which is pretty much what you did when you created
That's
your own
exactly
brand,
what I did.
right? I mean, that's what your brand is all about.
That's my history. Like, if I would say that, that's the definition of my influence in business. Boom, finished.
But it's also what your brand right now, the Beaver Brand, is all about, because you had said that doing that is what allowed you to become free of the disaster of having sold Blancpain at the time.
Yes.
I mean, it's something that, whilst you've done extraordinary things for other brands, this is you. I mean, this is your heart, this is your family, this is your everything. And what I found really interesting about this whole story was how you were saying that, you know, you have your friend Doubt, your best friend, Mr. Doubt.
Mr. Doubt.
Yes, who is both your greatest enemy, but also your greatest friend. And I found that interesting because, to be honest, when I was coming into this, I wasn't quite sure if, you know, given how different our backgrounds are, if there would be any points of similarity. But this was really something that I could relate to, because when I was starting out my career as a journalist, people thought I was crazy, and then I wanted to start this charity that I did back in 2015, and people also thought I was crazy. They were like, it's too big, you can't do it, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up tattooing the charity on my wrist so that if I ever wanted to give up or change my mind, I would have a constant reminder of my failure. You ended up stating on public radio that this was what you were going to do to push yourself towards actually doing it, which is brilliant, because you also, I mean, it's the same concept of, you know, you stick yourself deliberately into a corner that you yourself cannot back out of, because you've already said, hey, I'm going to do this. So my question would be, you know, what is your advice to the younger generation that is coming up that also might have hesitations and doubts and the voice of detraction saying, no, don't do this, it's too risky, you know, don't take that leap? How do you convince or guide them to actually have that belief in themselves? Because it's not an easy thing to do.
As we said already, it's true that life is not easy, for sure. Even if you had the best parents, even if everything went well, life will never be. And life is a permanent fight.
Which is crazy, right?
We
like,
have to,
why do we make it so hard?
We have to fight for every moment. You must become responsible of your own life, of your own destiny. The destiny is yours. You are making the destiny. Okay, there are elements that you didn't want. But even in these elements, and when you look the Olympic Games for handicap, that gives you so much strength just to watch at them and to say, wow, how would I be? Look, these guys. And so the human being is such a beautiful engine. The human being is such a beautiful brain. The human being has such a beautiful heart. There is so much love. And as the Beatles said, all you need is love. And that's the solution. That's why we should all try to be positive. We should all try to bring love as our priority, not money, not even success. Love must be the priority. And when love is there, and when you have love in your veins, in your blood, in your heart, in your eyes, then suddenly you feel so strong. because love gives strength, love gives equilibrium. And strength can only come when you have a very good equilibrium. So I really suggest people to do the exercise of love, to learn how to love. And this starts by loving yourself. And loving yourself means you respect yourself. And when you respect yourself, love can come. But love cannot enter if you have no respect for yourself. So you must make the way open that love can come and can influence you. Then love plays a role. But many people don't know how to open the door to love. How do I open the door for love? And that's the problem. We have been taught so many times, you are wrong, you don't do this right, you are this, don't do this, don't. So at the end, we have lost personality, we have lost entrepreneurship. So there is a fight to free ourselves again. And I can repeat this, and I love to repeat it. In 1967, on the 7th of June, 1967, there was a show on BBC called Our Show, and Our World. And in the show Our World, the Beatles started to sing, "All you need is love." And I was living in a commune with other hippies. We were 6. We said, wow, now we know what our life will be. It will be love. Bam. And we decided. And that gave me my structure, that gave me my strength, everything. And very often I say, what a pity that the hippie movement doesn't exist anymore, because it could help a lot of people, and it could. It's only positive energy, love, love, love. I'm not sure I answered 100% your question.
I mean, that's very interesting. It also would be quite interesting to see if the hippie movement could afford the brand that you're putting out now. But you might need to design something a bit special for them. But you know, the concept that you're talking about of love, you've said that about your own brand now, the Beaver brand. You want to be the brand of love, and you want to create pieces for eternity, and you want people to have an emotional reaction to your watches.
Yes, I want, you said it, I want my watches to touch eternity. And how do you touch eternity? By perfection. The perfection, the conscious can, when it's at the summit, then you are close to eternity. But I want to enter eternity, Mr. Biver. What do I have to do more? Nothing. You have to die. And once you are dead, you enter the eternity. So being alive, you can close, very close. And then when your eyes are shutting down, wow, then you enter eternity. And that's the best moment of life. That is my theory. Naturally, it's easy to say that. It's probably more difficult to live it. But I believe strongly that the more you have done the right things in life, the more you have been connected to love, the best you will feel when the last minutes are coming. And you will always regret, of course, a little bit, but I believe the last moments have the print of your life. And if your life has been good, if you have been good, the last moment will be beautiful.
And how do you translate this into a watch?
in a watch, you have eternity ticking. Tick, 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 tick. It goes for eternity. My father, when he was dying, he said to me, my son, I will give you now my watch. And I said, oh, Papa, your watch? And he gave it to me. And I tried to wind it up, and it was already working. I said, but your watch is working. He said, yes, it's working since 1947 when I got married to your mother, and she gave me as a present for the marriage this watch. I said, what? 1947? But we are in 2004. He said, yes, and the watch still works. That's what your mother offered me. And I understood that my mother offered my father a piece of eternity, which is called a watch. And it's not the only piece of eternity we can buy or we can own, but it is certainly one. And Joan Crawford, the actress, when she came to visit Blancpain, when she saw our watches, she gave a picture of her, a photography, and she wrote over the photography, thank you for showing me a piece of eternity. That was the definition of an actress called Joan Crawford. A piece of eternity. And it's true. You can take cars, you can take TV sets, you can take phones, all these mechanical objects. They will not work after a certain time. A watch will work 300 years later. Big Ben in London, bing, ding, has been working for 150 years. And it's still there, it works. It's a piece of eternity. And a watch is also one of the rare pieces of eternity that we as human beings can buy or can own.
You have another quote that I really do quite love. And you said in a previous interview, the more we are in a position to share, as we are in the luxury industry, so the more we need to share. You said the luxury industry has a lot of privileges. You need to give back the privileges you have. We must be an example. Luxury needs to mean I share. What is your philanthropic plan to build up on that as you move forward now with your own company and your own brand? What do you want Beaver to mean outside from love and eternity, but in terms of the giving back and philanthropic space?
I decided when I was 60 years old, so 15 years ago, that my sharing would start with you. It means I decided 15 years ago that I would do, free of charge, 10 to 20 conferences to the young people, to help them to find direction, to give them ideas, to give them motivation, whatever. And I said, that's one of my way to help. I help by giving conferences to the young people. That was one of the reasons why, and that's also the reason why we are here today, because I have never stopped to do that. And I go to China, I go to Harvard, to Boston. I'm traveling, and I do all this free of charge just to help. And I believe that sometimes a discussion like the one I have now is a lot of help. It brings something. It doesn't bring money if you need money. It doesn't necessarily bring happiness if you are sad, if you are alone, but it cannot harm. It does well. So my first belief is this. My second belief is I have children, and these kids, I must give them back. I must give them back love and giving back love together with education. And that's a mission. And as a father, I discovered that it has to be a mission. You have to stick to it. You have to do it. And number 3, I also gave a certain help to different charities that are that I can see, or after a drama, I do a little bit of gifting. I bring some help to people. So those are the 3 ways that I have found when I was 60. What can I do?
At one of your previous companies also, you guys had a pretty impressive philosophy of giving 2% of the company's profit to charities. Do you think that there's more that the private luxury industry can do within specifically the charity space?
In charity, you can always do more. That's the definition somehow. But I think the luxury industry does their part. If they can do more or less, I have not the numbers. I'm not working there. I cannot judge. But somehow in charity, you never have enough. And you don't be afraid to do more because you will never do too much.
That's a very good point. You've spoken a lot about how the industry needs to change, and that the younger generation needs to start moving in and take over, and that there's certain core mentalities about the way that the industry was run that actually needs to change. Can you just tell us a bit more about that? And do you believe that the younger generation is actually right now moving in the proper direction?
The young generation is for sure moving in the right direction. I have no doubts. Even if I would have doubts, I would eliminate the doubts because of my age. Every old person finds that the young are not as good, are not the same. We used to work more. We used to work much harder. But this I hate because it's probably not true even. So don't judge the new generation. On the contrary, take example, take inspiration. And if you take inspiration from the young generation, you take example of the future. Because who's the future? The new generation. So follow the new generation and try to find out what they are doing and do the same. So the young generation makes the old generation richer. You get rich by new knowledge, rich by new theories, rich by new concepts. And that I have seen in the few months that my son has worked with me. I said, this guy is teaching me.
So is he like, hey, Dad, that's not the way things are done anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, here's
Yeah.
how it's going to be.
And it was not easy for me to accept immediately.
You know.
I first said, no, my way, please, no. And then, more and more, one day I said, oh, my goodness, I don't have the truth. The truth is coming from the new generation. They know, they are the future.
And if we're talking about this truth and this new direction that we're referring to right now, I mean, exactly what is that? What are some of the core key aspects that we all need to be aware of to ensure that we're doing our part and also moving in what you're describing as being a new and better direction?
I think the biggest mistake, except the ethics, that you can never touch. But for all the other concepts, double check if they are still valid, because life is changing Why should you not be changing when life is changing? When the trees are changing, when the birds are changing, when the atmosphere is changing, when the mentality is changing, while the philosophy is changing, while the taxes are changing. And you don't change? That's not possible. We must follow the movement. We must follow life. And when life changes, we must be on the same train. And when we are not on the same train, we cannot criticize and say, I don't understand the young generation. That's because you are old.
Oh, great.
Come on.
I say that all the time.
Good, you learned something now.
What, that I'm old? Thank you. But, along the same line, you also, I guess in your younger years, were also pushing back against some of these old mentalities. And there's the example, obviously, of what you were able to do with Cindy Crawford, which was back in what year?
Cindy was 1988.
So basically, we're talking about a time when women had even less rights than they do today, when women had even practically a non-existent table in a business boardroom, where women were even more objectified than they are today. And yet you, in that atmosphere, had the idea and the thought of, we're not just going to use this person as someone to model our watch. We're actually going to recognize that she is more than just someone to wear a watch, that she has ideas and thoughts and creativity that can be implemented. I mean, a couple of questions on that is, did you get pushback at the time when you said you wanted... What? Did you get pushback? Like, were there people who were like, no, we don't care, we just, this is not a woman's place? And more importantly, perhaps, what was it that made you recognize that she had more to offer?
It was her beauty. When you have such a beauty, people have a tendency to concentrate and to remember the beauty. And they miss the opportunity to discover the inside, the invisible beauty. And the invisible beauty is much more important and lasts forever compared to the outside beauty. Outside beauty is limited in time. Inside beauty is forever. That was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed was I cannot use her as just a model for my brand, because that's not respectful. I must respect Cindy, as I must respect women. And the best way to respect her was to use her brain and to use her creativity and to use her mentality to help us to promote our watches. And that made a total change, to a degree that we became friends, to a degree that she is still at Omega.
Oh, really?
Yeah, now. So she came in 1988 and she's still there.
You're not trying to get her over?
40 years later, she's still at Omega.
You don't want to get her over to Beaver now?
No, that because she
I'm kidding.
she is strongly motivated. Yeah, I'm still happy when I go to LA to see her, but no, I don't believe that you build success by taking something that belongs to somebody else. So Cindy belongs somehow to Omega.
Did that, at the time, though, did that idea catch on with other brands, whether it was within the watch industry or beyond? This idea of, recognizing that women, even beautiful women or not, can be multi-talented?
I hope. It should be. I know in our days it was rare.
Yeah.
It was not very common to talk like that. And the reason why we had such a relationship with Cindy, and the reason also why she came and why she stayed at Omega, was that because we had established a relationship that was based on respect, not on beauty. Respect. Respect kills beauty. Beauty doesn't exist. The respect is the most important. And that I'm still like that. I don't have an ambassador now for my brand.
Well, if you're looking for a ratty Warzone correspondent, let me know. But back to these, principles of business upon which, obviously with your decades of experience in it, which are the core ones that you believe, despite the fact that, we do need to start listening to, the younger generation and younger minds, there are core principles, obviously, that you have passed down to your sons who are working with you that you still want to see entrenched in the way that, a business and a brand is run. What are some of those that are most important to you?
I think whatever you do, your business must be based on honesty. And number two, on substance. Honesty and substance are the pillars of success and eternity. Substance. And things must be true. That very often in marketing we forget these elements, and they are basic, they are essential, because they build strength, they build eternity, they build long-time relationship. Honesty and substance. Honesty and substance. And people must believe. And the belief doesn't come from an ad. The belief comes from actions. The actions must be true. And they must give the proof that what they said was true. I said to one customer, if your watch has a problem, I will fly to Newport in California. I will fly and I will repair your watch. Can you imagine that this man called me after a certain time, I don't know, 9 months or 8 months? He said to me, Mr. Biver, you remember you said to me you would fly to Newport to come to collect my watch. Now my watch is ready to be collected. I said, what? Yeah, the watch doesn't
You're
work.
like, damn it, why was
The
I
watch
too
doesn't
honest?
work anymore. I said, okay, I come tomorrow. And by the way, I was in New York when he called me. And I said, I come tomorrow. He said, how do you come tomorrow? I said, I take Concorde. But I was already in New York. Which he didn't know. And the next day, I was at his house, and I collected the watch. I brought it back to Switzerland, we repaired it, and he became one of the major collectors of the Blancpain minute repeaters. That's the story. That you must do. If you promise, you do.
If only more people would emulate that these days. I have to ask this, what frightens a man like you?
What frightens me? I'm still frightening and I'm still weak with my doubts. The doubt, I would like to kill it. And sometimes I say, God, I was saved by my doubt. Because of the doubt, I didn't do it. So the doubt, as I said in my book, sometimes is my friend, sometimes I hate it. It's my enemy. And there are days like not today. I have no doubt. I have no doubt now about the audience, about us. But there are days where I say, "Wow, I would like to have a life without doubts," but that's not possible.
But what, I mean, I guess then the question is, what sort of things are making you doubtful?
It depends. I have doubts in, to fight the doubt. I can tell you now what I did. Don't copy it because I don't recommend it. One day, 2 years ago, I had a conference at the Swiss radio station about what do you think about fake news? That was the émission, the show.
Broadcast.
The forecast. I came, I talked, and at a certain moment, I said, and in future, now very soon, I will make my own brand.
Wait,
The journalists, everybody said, what? What did you say? I said that I will launch my own brand with my son. Nobody knew it. Even I didn't know it. And why did you say it, Mr. Biver? Why? Because to fight my doubt. I said to the doubt, no, is enough. I will tell the story at the TV. I will say that I do a brand. Like this, you, Mr. Doubt, you can go. You will not influence me anymore because I will be engaged. I have no way to say no after I said. Now what happened is that somebody, a lawyer, listened to the radio. He was in his car and he said, oh, Biver is going to do his own brand. I must quickly deposit the name Biver for watches. And I got the call same day at 11 something. My friend, he's also a lawyer. He called me, he said, you know what? You stupid guy, you said on the TV, now we have a lawyer case because somebody deposited the name. I said, what? He said, yes, we must now fight. Are you ready for a budget to give? I said, okay, I give you a budget. And we had to fight against this lawyer who had deposited my name quicker than me. Because in the morning, I still didn't know that I would do my brand. I have been playing long time with the idea. And the doubt said yes, and then the doubt said no, yes, no, yes, no. Finally, I said, now I want a solution. I'm going to say it. And I declared it.
Which is one way to force
Yes,
yourself into the
exactly.
corner, or you can just tattoo it on yourself the way I did at the time. We're almost at the end of this night. I just wanted to also talk to you and ask you a bit more about, now that you've been through so much, both, personally, professionally, and you've built so much. What do you want the audience here to walk away from this with? Like, what do you want them to think about when they walk out of this room?
I want them to be motivated about love. If we can get love in our heart, if we can get love in our eyes, in our head, wow, the life would be much, much, much easier. And I think love is the best religion. And that's why every religion is based on the love. I don't know any religion that is not based on love. And love, if everybody going out of this room feels love in his heart and will give love to his friends, to his family, then we are safe.
I have to say, part of me is like fighting against my journalistic instinct to go into the news space, but I won't. But why do you think it is so hard to find love then, or to give love, or to receive love? If we are going to go, down this trajectory of that, is what you want people to walk away with?
Because you cannot give what you don't have. And our education system sometimes puts love beside. And when you had parents giving you a lot of love, love is eternal. Love you cannot lose. And that's why parents have such a strong, difficult mission. They have to give love to their kids, something that the kids will keep forever. But what a beautiful duty also. I'm in charge of giving love to my kids, and this love will never disappear. Wow, what a responsibility. How beautiful life can be if you are able and if you can give love to your kids, and something that will forever last. And that's the beauty.
And you've also started, a couple of smaller projects, like making cheese and spending time with cows.
I make cheese because, yes, I make cheese mainly because the watchmaking art, the art of making watches, is not born in Switzerland. It's born in France, it's born in Germany, in England, and it was imported to Switzerland by the Protestant community because they had to flee from France. The Catholics were cutting the heads, and some of them were watchmakers already, while none was existing in Switzerland. And these few watchmakers that came to Switzerland, they imported the art of making watches. And so the families in the old days had 8, 10 kids, and slowly they said, oh, one of our kids should do watches. And this is how in 1700, 1800, suddenly we had 60-70% of the population making cheese and making watches. So the watchmaking art in Switzerland is born in the farmhouses where people had milk and cheese. And this is in order to remember the origin. I do cheese for that only reason. And that's why I promote cheese, so that we should all remember where cheese comes from. Cheese comes from the farmhouses in the Valley de Joux and then in the rest of Switzerland. And that's beautiful. And in that sense, I'm so happy to work because I also love cheese. I love my trees. I love my cows. I love my flowers. When I walk in the Alps, I will always take care in the grass that I don't walk on the flower. And I see sometimes tourists, I say, you have walked on the flowers. And people say, wow. I said, here, no. These are flowers at the Alps. We are 2,000 meters high. You cannot walk on flowers. You must walk on the grass because of respect.
Well, I think the key messages in all of this are love and respect for
Yes.
each other and
Yes.
for nature. This has been fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing this much of yourself and for all your stories. And thank you all for coming. I'm not entirely sure if this was what you expected the direction of the conversation to go to, but I definitely found it, very, very insightful. So I really appreciate you and your time that you've given us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.